Welcome to Our Daily Health. Hip thrust. 10 effective hip thrust exercises and their benefits. Hip thrusts have gained a lot of popularity in the mainstream and have become a trendy exercise. There is a valid reason for this popularity, as it is an excellent exercise to strengthen, tone, and grow the muscles in your lower body, particularly the glutes. Hip thrusts are a fresh movement to add to your leg day to break the monotony of squats and lunges. It can be done at home or in a gym, with or without weights, or with a resistance band, depending on your fitness level. Hip thrust targets glutes, hamstrings, adductor muscles, and quads. It provides the body with a horizontal load that puts constant tension on your hips, unlike squats or deadlifts, which load the body vertically. It is excellent for building and strengthening your posterior chain, which is the backside of your body. This area is typically neglected, despite it being essential for performance, hip-to-knee coordination, proper posture, and aesthetics. They are a must-do for those who would like to increase the size of their butt. It is a great exercise for runners and those that spin, as it develops your lower body functionally. This means that your lower body gets better at performing other exercises and basic daily activities. They are a great hip extension exercise that will benefit you on the treadmill or the bike. Hip thrusts can be done easily by people at different fitness levels, as it requires less core stability, coordination, and balance compared to squats and deadlift. They reduce stress and pressure on the lower back and are a fantastic lower body exercise for people with back problems. This movement can be modified and adjusted depending on how much of a challenge you would like. Many variations can be done by adding different exercise equipment. The following are 10 effective hip thrust variations and their benefits. Hip thrust. 10 effective hip thrust exercises and their benefits. Number 1. Barbell hip thrust. The barbell hip thrust is the most common, and it is considered to be the standard hip thrust. With this variation, it is easy to increase the load while experiencing a wide range of motion. Begin seated on the floor with your knees bent and feet moved and hip width apart. Place your upper back on the edge of a weight bench in the middle of the bench. Put the barbell across your hips with a pad or sponge on the bar for comfort. Press the barbell up while squeezing your glutes up to where your hips are, in line with your shoulders and knees. Keep your chin slightly tucked, focusing down your body and your core tight. Lower the bar slowly till your hips are just above the ground. Squeeze your glutes and repeat the movement. Number 2. Glute bridge. The glute bridge is a hip thrust exercise that is done with the upper back and shoulders on the floor without a bench. It is a great variation for those who a standard hip thrust is too much on your lower back. It is an excellent warm-up exercise and an important exercise for the glutes as you work your way to the heavier hip thrust. It prepares the glutes for more difficult exercises. Start by lying on the floor with your hips planted on the ground and your knees bent. For more glute activation, have your heels closer to your butt. Squeeze your core so that you don't arch your back. Lift your hips off the floor by pressing through your feet. Ensure that your belly button is pulled in. Lower your hips and return to the starting position. Number 3. Isometric hip thrust. Isometric hip thrusts are a very effective exercise for the glutes. Isometric means that you will hold the movement when the muscles tighten. You will hold at the top of the hip thrust. It is great for building endurance and helping to improve the hip thrust form and lockout. Position yourself on the bench in a hip thrust starting position. You perform the same movement as a standard hip thrust, but hold at the top of the thrust when your hips are extended. Hold for 10 to 30 seconds before returning to the starting position. Number 4. Single leg hip thrust. The single leg hip thrust is the same as a standard hip thrust, but with one leg. This is a unilateral exercise that helps you equally target both sides of the body. It helps to minimize asymmetry in muscle development and strengthen imbalances. It engages the core to benefit your stability and balance. It develops your athletic performance, hypertrophy, and reduces the risk of injury. Get into a hip thrust position and raise up your right foot with your left foot planted on the ground. Raise your hip until it is parallel to the floor. pressing your left foot on the ground and engaging your core to maintain balance. Slowly lower back to the ground. If you're enjoying this video, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Our Daily Health. Number 5. Feet elevated hip thrust. This is an upside-down hip thrust where your feet are on the bench and your back on the floor. This exercise can provide you with an even greater glute activation and range of motion. Lie on the ground and place your feet on the bench in front of you with your knees bent at a 90 degrees angle. Pressing your feet on the bench, raise your hips until they are in line with your shoulders and knees. Slowly lower down to hip to the starting position. Number 6. Frog jump. This variation focuses on the hip abductors and glutes more by reducing the use of the hamstrings. This increased glute activation helps with athletic performance, particularly in basketball, football, and volleyball. Lying on the ground, put your feet together and drop your knees to the side. Engage your core to avoid arching your back. Raise your hips and squeeze your glutes. Lower back down to the starting position. Number 7. Resistance band hip thrust. This is a great option if you want to do hip thrusts at home or without weights. It is the same as a standard hip thrust with a resistance band around your hips. You will need to secure the resistance band with your hands, feet, or dumbbell. Number 8. Kneeling hip thrust with band. This variation is a kneeling squat, as it is a squat without moving your knees, moving only the top part. You get more contraction of the glutes thanks to the band that you wouldn't get from squats. Secure the band on the foot of a heavy and stable bench or equipment. Number 9. Body weight hip thrust. This is simply a hip thrust without any weight. It is excellent for beginners who are learning the movement and may not be comfortable with the added resistance. It is a great exercise if you are working at home and don't have weights. Number 10. Dumbbell hip thrust. This is a hip thrust using a dumbbell for added resistance instead of a barbell. This is great for working your way up to heavier weights. Simply place a dumbbell on your hips. You can also use a weighted plate as an alternative. Bottom line, the hip thrust is an effective lower body focused strength training exercise that can be done by people of all fitness levels. It can be done by using body weight, barbell, or dumbbells to build strength, athletic performance, range of motion, balance, coordination, and overall physical fitness. Which of these hip thrust exercises do you like best? Comment your answer below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. For more health and wellness topics, please subscribe to Our Daily Health.